Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you were truly alone? No phone in your hand, no music playing in the background, no scrolling, no distractions. Just you, sitting with your own thoughts. For most people today, the answer is never. We live in a world that is constantly loud. Notifications, social media, endless conversations, and noise from every direction. And because of this, many people fear being alone. They confuse solitude with loneliness. But here's the truth. Being alone isn't lonely. It's where you grow. Solitude is not isolation. It's a powerful tool for self-mastery. And if you want clarity, confidence, creativity, and inner strength, you need to spend more time alone. Why people fear solitude? Most people run from solitude because they're afraid of what they'll find. When the noise stops, you're forced to face yourself, your doubts, your insecurities, your regrets. That's uncomfortable. That's why people stay busy. That's why they distract themselves. But here's the paradox. The very thing you're running from, silence, stillness, solitude, is the very thing that can set you free. Think about it. The world's greatest thinkers, creators, and leaders all had one thing in common. They valued time alone. Steve Jobs would go on long walks by himself to think. Nikola Tesla spent hours in solitude, creating his inventions. Philosophers like Nietzsche, Marcus Aurelius, and Thoreau all emphasize the importance of stepping away from the crowd. Why? Because solitude allows you to hear your own voice instead of being drowned out by everyone else's. Lesson 1. Solitude builds clarity. When you're constantly surrounded by people, opinions, and noise, it's hard to know what you actually want. You end up living life on autopilot, chasing goals that aren't even yours, following paths that were never meant for you. But when you spend time alone, you start to separate your true desires from the expectations of others. You begin to ask deeper questions. Who am I? What do I really want? What kind of life do I want to build? Clarity doesn't come from noise. It comes from silence. Lesson 2. Solitude builds strength. Being alone teaches you self-reliance. It forces you to stop leaning on the world for validation. Most people are addicted to approval. They can't move unless someone tells them they're good enough. But when you learn to be alone, you learn to validate yourself. You learn to trust your own instincts. You become less fragile and more grounded. Solitude strengthens your identity because it teaches you to stand on your own 2 feet. Lesson 3. Solitude builds creativity. Have you noticed that your best ideas often come when you're alone? In the shower, during a walk, or lying in bed before sleep? That's not an accident. Creativity needs quiet space to grow. When you're alone, your brain finally gets room to connect ideas, to dream, to imagine. This is why so many writers, musicians, and inventors isolate themselves to create. If you want to unlock your creativity, you need solitude. Lesson 4. Solitude builds emotional control. Here's the truth. If you can't sit with yourself, you'll never master yourself. Time alone forces you to process your emotions instead of running from them. When you're always distracted, you avoid dealing with pain, fear, or frustration. But solitude gives you the space to reflect, to understand yourself, and to regulate your emotions. You learn patience. You learn how to calm your own storms. And the person who can control their emotions controls their life. Lesson 5. Solitude builds vision. Finally, solitude allows you to zoom out from the chaos of daily life and look at the bigger picture. It gives you the ability to step back and see where you're going. Without solitude, you live reactively, responding to whatever life throws at you. With solitude, you live intentionally, building a life by design, not by accident. How to embrace solitude. Now, solitude doesn't mean you need to disappear for months into the mountains. It doesn't mean you cut off every friend or live like a monk. Solitude can be simple. Take a 30-minute walk with no phone. Wake up early and journal before the world wakes up. Sit quietly with a cup of tea and reflect. Schedule time each week where you're alone, truly alone. The key isn't isolation, it's intention. Use solitude as a tool to think, create, plan, and connect with yourself. So let me leave you with this. Being alone is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. Because in solitude, you find clarity about who you are. In solitude, you build strength to walk your own path. In solitude, you unlock creativity, master your emotions, and gain vision for your life. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is when you feel empty without others. Solitude is when you feel full within yourself. The world will always pull at you. It will always try to drown your voice with noise, opinions, and distractions. But the people who rise above it, the people who create, who lead, who change the world, they all understand the power of being alone. So my challenge to you is simple. Spend more time with yourself. Learn to be your own company. Because the more comfortable you are in solitude, the more powerful you become in the world. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready for more lessons on growth and self-mastery, hit that like button, subscribe, and join me on this journey. Remember, being alone isn't lonely. It's where you grow.